Welcome back to the program. You're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Let's segue into our conversation of the day by focusing on what looks like an unceasing conversation and debate as well as controversy, which is fast becoming a saga now over the reform bills that dominated the better part of the fourth quarter of 2024. Because in the New Year message to Nigeria, the NLC has called on the federal government to withdraw the bills and rework them to the benefit of Nigerians, alongside pointing at other issues. And also, over the past couple of weeks, 2 more state governments have joined the conversation again, overheating the conversation, where the Bauchi state governor had a back and forth, if you would describe it as such, with the presidency about these tax reform bills. And the Kano state government also doubled down on what they say is unacceptable for the development of the state, especially against the backdrop of some of the provisions of those pieces of legislation. So join us to provide some context to this particular development, especially against the backdrop of what the Labour is saying for an annual adjustment of the 70,000 naira minimum wage to match inflation, challenging the 3-year interval in the new act. What does this actually mean? How much room for discussion is there about this, especially now that we know what the president feels about all of the opposition that these bills have been faced with? Join us virtually from via Zoom from Abuja is barrister Felix Adetowubo. He's a lawyer and a public analyst. He'll be joining the conversation this morning. Barrister, good morning to you. Thank you most kindly for taking the time. Happy New Year to you. I want to first of all start the conversation by getting your take on what you make of this whole controversy, why this legislation is getting so much pushback, and what you make of the arguments for and against the tax reform bills. Hello, barrister. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, barrister. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I think there is a little disruption with the network, but I can hear you now.
Right, okay. So the question was, what do you make of the continuing argument for and against these tax reform bills, from your understanding of the provisions of the law and how executive bills are usually presented to the National Assembly? What do you make of it?
Thank you very much. Personally, I think, let me first greet you, Happy New Year, and also to all our listeners.
Happy New Year too.
And yeah, what I see in the whole thing is a very simple thing. And I think we shouldn't, if truly we want a country to really call our home, then we need to do the needful and just accept this as one of those reforms that is going to put the country in a good light. We have seen the back and forth since last year when this bill, came to being, and it seems some are not agreeing, while some are agreeing with it. But we have to also look at the gains instead of the little things. I personally have said in different forums, if there is anything that is wrong with it, it's just for us to correct 1 or 2 things, not that we should just throw the whole thing away. In fact, I read somewhere where a governor sometimes last week said we are not ready for tax reform. That's funny, and we know that what this tax issue has been doing to especially the common man is not what is really good for democracy and people that should be having dividends of democracy. The tax reform bill, I think the committee have really said a lot about it, and I think it's just the right time for us to just have this. And a lot of things have been said, and I think the taxes really come to put some kind of changes, in the way taxes are being collected in Nigeria. We can see the name of FIRS is also going to be changed. So it's kind of all the splitted tax regimes, the tax act, all of them will now be, brought together to be, in one document, which I think is also one of it. And one exemption of individuals earnings like 800,000, because I've read a large chunk of the bill, such people will be paying less, in their income tax. They'll be paying less, unlike before where they pay higher. Currently, if you earn over 800,000 annually, you are required to pay like 84,000 naira out of this amount as your income tax. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Let's broaden the conversation to reflect the.
I really just want to know if you are here because of
yes.
thing, so.
We can still hear you.
All right. So, like with the tax now, you will not be paying anything, and I think those that of their personal income tax. So it's like he's going to drag the rich more into the tax net than the individuals who are not, let me use the word quote unquote, those that are not rich, let me just say the masses who are doing their little businesses. They are not going to be taxed just like the way it used to be. And I think this is one of those numerous gains that we can really draw out of the tax reform bill.
Right. So to broaden the conversation away from just the contents of it, because I think both sides have an argument to make about why they either support or do not support it. As you pointed out, there are certain common denominators in terms of where the federal government agrees with the governors about certain things. Like you talk about personal income tax and the threshold or the ceiling that has also been increased for businesses. If you're not making X amount of profit, you don't have to pay company income tax and things like that, which I believe most of the governors or critics of the bill agree that it's an important part. The controversial part is the redistribution of the wealth that is accruing from the value-added tax. But let's move away from the facts of the argument to the politicization of the conversation. What do you make of the politicization of it? Because at the end of the day, it's these emotions that carry the day, right? It's not a debate that is just based on empirical facts alone. There are also emotions attached to it. What do you make of that and what it is doing to the conversation? Because you get a sense that it's North versus everybody else, so to say, even though organizations like the NLC have come out to speak against it. There are other people in other parts of the country that have spoken, in critical terms about some of the provisions of the bills. But you get a sense that it's like the North that is countering, these tax reform bills. What do you make of the politicization of the issues?
Thank you very much. Everything about politics, the way we see it, especially in Africa, is that politics is a game of interest. People always go for their interests, just like states too. Everybody go for their interests, Like I remember in America, the last election, Trump was always saying America first, meaning that the interests of an individual, the interests of the state matters in everything. But as this also go on, then we also need to, everything too should not be about politics. It should just be about common reasoning. I don't know if you get my point. Just common reasoning. How will this, if we are talking about developing the nation, then we also need to look at the broader, aspect of the whole thing. So we really, when they first started this argument, that some said they don't really want it, that is going to go against a particular section of the country, and some section of the country is going to benefit more. But we now look into it that what the bill is even proposing is even to give more benefits to those who have not been benefiting the way they should. Let me give you an example. Before, the headquarters of maybe companies like are the ones taking the tax, of, for example, let's say a company that produces probably milk, and the headquarters is in Lagos. Now, milk is not only consumed in Lagos. Milk is consumed, all over the federation. Are you getting my point? It's consumed all over. So the tax that is supposed to be paid to that state where the milk is being consumed is now being taken to Lagos, where the headquarters is. So now, what the bill has done is to now make sure that the tax is paid where it's really consumed. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Barrister. Go ahead.
All right. So it's now being paid where it is consumed, and that is a gain that we cannot put aside. Now, what is now? I know the sharing formula is the issue, but what the tax, in summary, what the tax is trying to do is to make sure that governors do the right thing by making sure that they go into production. They make sure that things are done in their domain, because you can see that, to be sincere with you, and I believe you agree with me, I'm sorry to use this word, most of our governors have been docile. Since this president came to power, he has increased the allocations going to states. But what has what have these governors done with those allocations? The state become poorer by the day. No job, no work, but their allocations are being increased. So what are the governors doing to make sure that they consolidate on the increment of what has been given to them? And that's why I don't always agree, with the president always giving all this money capping. And if you are giving out money, then you have to follow it up. Although the governors of the states have the autonomy, to undo their money and all that.
Right.
But if money is being given to you all the time and you are not making the best use of it, at the end of the day, all the blame will still come to the president that is not doing anything.
Right.
So these are the things, and I think it's just out of, maybe I won't say ignorance, but because even when Ndume first came out, he said he has not even read the bill before he came to condemn. So I feel that these people going against it, they need to go back and check and really and truly educate themselves, before they start condemning.
Okay, interesting points there. I get the feeling that 2025 is going to be the chickens will come home to roost with regards to this particular position of the president, where he's saying that there's no going back. The next couple of months will surely be interesting to see what kind of deliberations will be presented in the move forward. Barrister Felix, thank you so much for joining us on such short notice. I appreciate you for the analysis, and thank you for your time. All right, that's our conversation with Barrister Felix Adetowubo, who is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst on the ongoing controversy surrounding the tax reform bills.